Let me ask you something. What if you could have a motorcycle that didn't feel like a motorcycle? What if something came along that was small enough to slice through city traffic, cheap enough that your wallet didn't cry every time you filled it up, but still felt cool enough that you actually wanted to ride it? That's the question Honda has been teasing the market with for years. And in 2026, they finally gave us a proper answer. Meet the Honda Zoomer X-Trail 2026. Now before you say anything, yes, I know. The name sounds like a toy. Like something you'd buy your kid for Christmas. But stay with me here, because this little machine is anything but a toy. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why people are talking about it, why some riders are choosing it over bikes that cost twice as much, and whether it actually deserves a spot in your garage. Let's get into it. Alright, so first things first, who is Honda building this thing for? Because that matters. It matters a lot. A bike built for a 22-year-old college student navigating campus roads is a very different machine than one built for a 35-year-old professional trying to dodge rush-hour traffic in the city. And honestly, Honda seems to have tried to build something that works for both. Whether they pulled it off, we'll talk about that. The Zoomer X-Trail 2026 is Honda's updated take on their Zoomer X platform, a scooter-style underbone bike that's been quietly popular in Southeast Asia for years. The Trail Edition in this version signals something new. Honda has taken that urban formula and added a layer of adventure readiness to it. Not full-on dirt bike territory, don't get it twisted, but enough that you don't feel completely helpless when the road ends and something rougher begins. In terms of specs, you're looking at a 110 cubic centimeters single-cylinder 4-stroke engine, fuel injection, a semi-automatic or full-automatic transmission depending on the variant you go for, and a dry weight that sits comfortably under 100 kilograms. So this is lightweight, nimble, and designed for people who live in places where traffic is a daily battle. Now let's actually look at this thing. Design. Exterior. First impressions. I'm going to be honest with you. When I first saw the renders of the Zoomer X-Trail 2026 online, I thought Honda played it too safe. I thought, okay, they've taken the old Zoomer X, slapped some new plastics on it, called it a Trail Edition, and moved on. I was wrong. In person, and this is one of those bikes where you really do need to see it in person, the Zoomer X-Trail has a presence that photos just don't capture. It's got this aggressive low-slung stance that feels borrowed from something much bigger. The frame is exposed in a way that reminds you of custom cafe racer builds, but it's not trying too hard. It doesn't feel like Honda is shouting, "Look at me." It's more like a quiet confidence. Like a guy in a plain white t-shirt who somehow looks better than everyone else in the room. The front end is where Honda made the boldest choices. You've got a round LED headlamp, and I know round headlamps are everywhere right now, everyone's doing it, but the way Honda has framed it here with the angular shrouds on either side, it works. It genuinely works. It gives the bike a face. And in my opinion, a bike needs a face. It needs to look like it has a personality. Moving along the side profile, the fuel tank area, or what looks like the fuel tank because on most underbone designs the actual tank is under the seat, has this flat, muscular shape that breaks away from the bubbly rounded designs we usually see on bikes in this class. The seat is low and flat, which I'll talk more about in the comfort section, but visually it gives the bike a very clean, minimalist silhouette. The tail section is probably my favorite part of the exterior design. Honda has kept it tight and upswept, and the LED tail light has this slim strip look that feels genuinely modern. It doesn't feel like a budget afterthought. It feels deliberate. Now the trail in the name, they've expressed that through a few design choices. You've got slightly chunkier tires than a standard Zoomer X. The exhaust is routed a little higher. There are small bash guard style elements on the lower frame. And depending on the color option you choose, you can get these matte earthy tones, a deep olive, a sand beige, that lean into the adventure aesthetic without being obnoxious about it. In my opinion, the best color in the 2026 lineup is the matte olive with black accents. It just looks purposeful. Like this bike was designed by someone who actually rides, not just someone who sits in a design studio. Is the design perfect? No. The side panels near the foot area feel a little plasticky when you knock on them, and they are plastic, obviously, but on some bikes that material quality issue doesn't announce itself the way it does here. And the mirrors, I know mirrors are rarely exciting, but these feel like they came from the parts bin and Honda didn't spend much time on them. A minor thing, but when everything else looks this considered, it stands out. Overall though, the 2026 Zoomer X-Trail is a good-looking bike. Not flashy. Not trying to win beauty contests. But genuinely attractive in a way that gets better the longer you look at it. Alright, let's climb on and talk about the interior experience. Or what passes for interior on a bike like this. The cockpit, the features, the ergonomics, all of it. Sitting on the Zoomer X-Trail for the first time, the low seat height immediately makes itself known. And this is genuinely great for shorter riders. If you've ever thrown a leg over a bike and felt that stomach drop moment of realizing your feet are barely grazing the ground, this bike solves that problem. Both feet flat on the ground with room to spare, for most riders. That confidence at a standstill matters more than people give it credit for. The handlebars are wide and slightly raised, which gives you a very upright, relaxed riding position. This isn't a sporty crouch. This is a, I'm going to work and I want to arrive without a sore back, riding position. And honestly, for daily use, that's exactly what you want. In my opinion, too many people overlook ergonomics when shopping for bikes. They focus on specs and looks, and then 3 months later their wrists are hurting and their back is complaining. Honda got the ergonomics right here. The instrument cluster is a fully digital LCD unit, not a color TFT display, which might disappoint some of you coming from premium bikes, but it's clean, it's easy to read, and it gives you everything you actually need. Speed, fuel level, odometer, trip meters, a clock. The font is modern, the layout is logical, and critically, it's readable in daylight. That sounds basic, but you'd be surprised how many screens go invisible the moment the sun hits them. There's a USB-A charging port tucked into the front storage area. Now the front storage compartment. Let me talk about this for a second because Honda has actually been thoughtful here. It's not huge. You're not fitting a helmet in there. But it's the right size for your phone, your earbuds, a small wallet, your lunch if your lunch is a protein bar. It's a usable space, not just a token gesture. There's also a small hook under the handlebar for a bag, which sounds like nothing but becomes one of those features you use every single day. The underseat storage, which is where the fuel tank actually lives, so it's partially taken up, gives you maybe enough space for a small rain jacket or a compact document pouch. Not generous. But again, not useless. Now, keyless ignition. This is something that I think a lot of people in this bike's price segment don't expect. The 2026 Zoomer X-Trail comes with a smart key system on certain variants. You keep the key fob in your pocket, walk up to the bike, press a button, and it starts. It's a small luxury, but it feels genuinely premium. It's the kind of feature that makes you smile every morning. The side stand is automatic cut-off equipped, meaning the engine won't let you ride off with the stand down. Basic safety feature, but one that has saved countless bikes from being destroyed by riders who forgot to kick it up. Brakes, you've got disc at the front and drum at the rear on the base variant, with disc on both ends available on the Trail Plus version. For daily urban riding, the front disc setup is more than adequate. Stopping power is confident. The feel at the lever is progressive, not grabby, which matters in stop-and-go traffic where you're braking constantly and you don't want to jerk everyone around you. I think the feature set on this bike is honestly better than the price tag suggests. Honda hasn't loaded it with gimmicks. They've picked the features that actually affect daily life and implemented them properly. That's the right philosophy. One thing I'd have liked to see, and this is a genuine criticism, is better quality switchgear. The buttons on the handlebar feel functional but not premium. When you're pressing the hazard lights or the turn signal, there's a clicky plasticky feel that just doesn't match the overall impression the bike gives you. Small thing. But I notice it. Performance. This is where things get interesting. Let's talk about the city first, because that's where the vast majority of Zoomer X-Trail buyers will spend 90% of their time. The 110 cubic centimeters engine, and I want to manage expectations here, is not trying to be a sports bike. It's not trying to be a performance machine. What it's trying to do is be smooth, efficient, reliable, and responsive in the speed ranges that actually matter in city riding. Which, let's be honest, is mostly 0 to 60 kilometers per hour with a lot of stopping and starting in between. And in that context, the Zoomer X-Trail is genuinely impressive. Fueling from the fuel-injected engine is clean and crisp from the very first twist of the throttle. There's no hesitation, no stumble, no rich running weirdness you sometimes get from cheaper carbureted setups. You roll on the throttle and the bike responds immediately and predictably. For city use, that predictability is gold. It means you can thread through traffic with precision because you know exactly how the bike is going to behave. The low-end torque is quite satisfying for a 110. Pulling away from traffic lights, darting into gaps in traffic, navigating roundabouts, it all feels effortless. Not because the engine is enormously powerful, but because the power delivery is well matched to the bike's weight. This is a light bike, and even a modest engine moves a light bike well. In terms of actual top speed, I'm not going to pretend this is going to do 140 kilometers per hour. It's not. But you can cruise very comfortably at 70 to 80 on city roads, and it'll hit somewhere around 95 to 100 kilometers per hour at full stretch. For the intended use case, that's more than adequate. Fuel efficiency. Okay. This is where I have to slow down and give proper attention, because this is, in my honest opinion, one of the most compelling arguments for the Zoomer X-Trail. We're talking about fuel consumption figures that hover around 40 to 45 kilometers per liter in real-world city riding. Let me let that sink in. 40 to 45 kilometers per liter. If you're riding 60 kilometers a day 5 days a week, you're looking at filling up maybe once every 3 weeks. Maybe. The fuel tank capacity sits around 3.5 to 4 liters, so your range between fill-ups in typical city use is approximately 140 to 170 kilometers. That's remarkable for the daily commuter math. Now the highway. This is where the trail part of the name is more aspirational than literal, at least when it comes to high-speed highway riding. The bike can hold highway speeds in the 80 to 90 range, but it's working harder than it wants to. The engine is spinning up, and at those speeds you start to feel vibrations through the handlebars and foot pegs that aren't there in city riding. It's not uncomfortable, but it's noticeable. And it tells you something important. This bike was designed for urban and semi-urban roads, not sustained highway cruising. That said, the trail capability. On mild off-road surfaces, packed dirt, gravel, gentle unpaved paths, the Zoomer X-Trail acquits itself well. The slightly wider tires provide enough grip that you don't feel like you're about to slide out on every loose surface. The suspension travel is adequate for small bumps and potholes. This is not a dirt bike. You're not going to take it down a technical mountain trail. But if your daily commute includes a stretch of rough road, or if you want to ride down to a park through a dirt path, you can do that confidently. The suspension setup, telescopic forks at the front, twin shock absorbers at the rear, is tuned on the firmer side compared to pure scooters. It handles road imperfections competently. It's not plush, but it's controlled and predictable, and on the kinds of roads where this bike will actually live its life, it works. Handling. This is something I genuinely enjoyed. The Zoomer X-Trail is light enough that it almost steers itself. Changing direction mid-corner, weaving through traffic, making tight U-turns